Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about operationalizing explainable and governed AI, and I'm going to cover some specific examples. That's actually my second slide, so let me go on to the first. Okay, that's the title slide. My co-author is actually online, so he will talk about a couple of slides also. So AI is ubiquitous, but the ROI, AI is ubiquitous, but the ROI is dubious, right? We are not getting the ROI we need to, so I believe the reasons are opacity, the fragmented architecture, and reactive risk management, right? So the question is, how do we overcome them? So before I kind of talk about how we overcome them, let me just quickly go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Let me talk about a couple of examples. Why do we need this transparency, removing the silos, and also some kind of semantic mapping plus governance? Let's take Goldman Sachs example. 2019, they launched Apple Card. Soon the word spread out that their AI was assigning lower credit lines to females than males. They couldn't explain. Regulators came in, did the investigation, billions of dollars in fines. They're still paying the fine, unfortunately, right? More recently, Air Canada's chatbot told a passenger to book a full fare and apply for the bereavement discount later on. That's a hallucinated policy. Air Canada lost the case in the tribunal, and they had to pay back, right? And what we need, we believe, is an engineering framework that restores the trust, which would accelerate the adoption and result in desirable outcomes. So how would an explainable AI look like? So this is an insurance company. Their AI system denied a claim, and the customer was contesting. And fortunately, they had our explainable AI system deployed, and they could defend the denial. What you see is what the investigators saw, and we converted that graph into a customer service rep's language, English language. So what happened was there was no injury in the accident. Policy was new. Policyholder's occupation was risky. Within the short duration, there was a lapse in the payment, dubious location, so on. So you clearly lay out the causal reasons for the denial. And then you can actually convert that further into a narrative with ChatGPT. That's also fairly easy for audit trail purposes. So when you have explainable and governed AI, right? Explainability is one part, governance is another part. So the governance is essentially a step up from the traditional governances we already know, data governance, IT governance, model governance, but now we need more controls from an inference point of view, making sure that prompt engineering is done properly, making sure that RAG is deployed properly, making sure that toxic content is filtered. When we do all that, the bias gets minimized, false positives get minimized, and those are the benefits, the governance benefits. So explainability and governance together leads to the adoption. And in this particular case, all the investigation units across the country adopted, and they were able to screen from 55% to 100% claims, obviously more fraud detection, hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud detection, and brand reputation for the insurance company goes up, regulators are happy, success story, right? Now, that's not specific to insurance industry. More recently, we have started applying it to healthcare industry, which is probably one of the most operationally complex industry. So we already have the AI ML tools, prediction, cognition, optimization, generative AI, all these tools. Now the question is, how do we embed those tools to integrate agents as co-workers into enterprise workflows? Again, we talked about explainability, governance. They will definitely help, but one other thing was missing, the semantic intelligence. In other words, if a clinician talks about adverse event, that is same as incident report from a compliance point of view. right? So we need to map. Once we do this governance, explainability, semantic mapping, then the deployment becomes that much easier. As simple as that. Of course, these are all time-consuming frameworks to deploy. So that's explainability, governance, semantic mapping. From a technical point of view, we talked about AI going to data in the earlier lightning talk. So containers facilitate that. In addition to that, you need APIs and security endpoints for agility. So we covered the AI aspects, the technology aspects. Now the remaining aspect is how can a CIO take these frameworks and devise a strategy that works for an organization? And that's where Ravi is going to talk next.
Thank you, Dr. Beju. Hello, everyone. So as Dr. Haddad was saying that, his research also saying the same thing what I experienced. Right? The shadow IT becomes really even a big issue when you are implementing the AI, because all of these pointed solutions of the AI, it's all like a business centric and all. When every business wants to do their own, then there are no controls. So it becomes really a bigger issue with AI than previously what we saw. Can you go to next? So as a CIO, we need to look at data security, how different applications are integrated, and how architecturally that is coming. Because if you think about it, every business unit is bringing their own AI without thinking about the data security. Think about your sensitive data is going on. If you go to GDPR and all, it will become the bigger billions of dollars of fines. So the business may not be really looking at this thing, but it becomes an IT or CIO's responsibility to look it in those areas. The same thing, if you are looking at the pointed solutions, if there are no really pure integrated everywhere, then you are talking about disconnected systems giving another issues. So that creates an architectural debt. So these are all the things are the hidden costs we need to be really thinking about it. Can you go next? So as a CIO, what we should be doing it is our responsibility safeguarding the data and infrastructure to do the performance and whatnot. It is purely, it becomes a CIO's responsibility. The businesses doesn't care because they are looking at their own value, how they are going to drive it. Go next. So when you are looking at the vendor, what you need to be really looking at as a CIO, you need to be looking at the security, that's number one, right? All the data security and all this is a bigger issue. As somebody else from Taiwan was also talking about, hey, how my data is going into other areas and all. We got to be looking at the country-specific, business-centric, and everything. So who should have what data should have access? Performance is another bigger issue. So when we are really looking at all the integration, if something you are asking, if the ChatGPT will work, because that is all their big mega data centers, right? When we are really looking at the company-wise and as a department-wise, the performance will become an issue. And the governance, who should have access to what? Right? You don't want to really give access to everyone in the company, so you need to really look at those governance perspective. Of course, compliance, right? When you go to the US, you have to really look at the SOX compliance and all. And you go to the Europe, you have to look at the GDPR compliance, etc. But as a CIO, okay, I'm not saying that we should just stop, right? We have to enable the business. Okay, if we don't enable this transformation, businesses will go on their own. So we have to be upfront. We have to be as a transformation enabler. So you think of ourselves as an enabler, right?
I'm so sorry, we're out of time.
There are a bunch of benefits you can see in the Dr. Beju was saying in the pharmaceutical, in the medical industry, and everybody was saying there are so many benefits. But whereas when you go to the commercial also, there are so many benefits. Right? Businesses, every business has it.
Thank you so much. We're
So
out of
what is
time.
the best way to do is partner with the CIO. We must closely work with the business leader to define the robust governance model. We have to empower the innovation and without compromising it.
Thank you.
So that's all I would say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you very
much,
much.
Beju. Thank you, Ravi. A fantastic talk. Thank you.